Hi, it's Beverly here over at Crafting Chaos, and I'm going to bring in you the first day of Christmas, the first project this Christmas. And it is my plan to try to do 12. I'm not going to follow the 12 days of Christmas, but that's what we're intending to create. For today's creation, I'm going to take you through making this poinsettia in a pot file. So that's what we're intending to make. I'll just zoom in so you can have a little look at it. That's what it's looking like. And what we've actually got, it's actually paper pieced. So if I just break that apart, and then you can see what I mean. So if we remove that bit from there, and there, and there, you can see that that is in fact a piece of art in itself. And you could just leave it at that if you want. Put a piece of paper behind, or a coloured card, or a piece of gold card, and it would look fabulous just as it is. However, you may want to do the paper piecing and put back the colours, and I've given you that option too also for the pot. Now, in order to do this, what I went on first of all was I found Christmas silhouettes and present silhouettes. Now, I used this present silhouette, which is from the free stencil gallery, and I just brought that in and took the bow from that. I'll show you how to do that. And then, prior to that, we also had our poinsettia silhouette, this one. And if we go to visit that one, we can see, hopefully, computer's a bit slow today, that this is also from the free stencil gallery. So we're going to be using that in our file today. So I have those already downloaded to my Canvas workspace. So we're going to get started. So I'm just going to move off this file in case I want it for reference. Just mainly it's the pot that I'm interested in and sizes roughly. We'll delete that, move that off to the side. In fact, I think I prefer to have it at this side so that I can see what I'm doing. So, first things first, bring in the files. So, remember they're saved as image files, so we do have to actually trace them. So, I've got them saved in photos, and I've got the poinsettia stencil. I'm going to open that. So, it's a tracey file. I'm just going to try removing the background and ramp it up a bit and try previewing at that. Say okay and see what we've got. So it's easier if you get a colour to see what you've got and what pieces you've got. And that actually doesn't look too bad now, so I'm going to just select all of those and I'm going to group them, and I'm going to enlarge it, and then I actually shrunk it down that way to get a more rounded out shape. Okay, so that's where we're at. So we're roughly there now. We seem to have a little piece missing here, so we're going to deal with that now. And this is how you can work it out. So it looks like a piece like that that's missing. So I'm just going to duplicate that by hitting D on my keyboard. I'm going to rotate it round and slot it into the missing place. Now obviously when you're doing this you will get things that aren't perfect with your tracing, but I think that looks reasonably okay now. So what I will do next is I actually grouped everything, because I'm going to use a couple of the leaves elsewhere on my design. So what I'm going to do is now I'm going to select this one, ungroup it, and then I'm going to pinch this one from there, and I'm going to rotate it so that I can place it over here. I need to get the angle. I'm aiming for there to be a similar amount of daylight between, or white space if you will, between the pieces as that is already there. So you don't want it to suddenly be a big massive gap. You want it to be similar to what's already there. So we'll have a look at what that looks like. So what I did then was just to give myself an idea on colour, because I did intend to do those green, some of the leaves green. So I turned some of them to green. So I'm just going to ungroup so that I can now click on the individual pieces that I want to be green, and then I can see how I think my file's looking and whether I'm happy with it. Okay, so I think I want to move that one up there just to give a little bit more balance, and maybe I'm going to just move that one out just a little bit there like so. So once you get it how you like it, because remember, as long as you've got some white space in between, you're fine. So I'm just going to select everything and group it for now, and I'm going to get rid of that one, and I'm going to make a working copy of that one in case I need it for something else. And next we're going to work on the plant pot. So just to refresh, so we brought it in image tracing, and I think I've ended up being on colour 4, removed the background and left it at that, and that's what we went with. And then I've done the adjustments as you're seeing on screen. So the next thing we need to do is bring on a basic shape, and the basic shape that I brought on was this one. So I'm just going to bring that down there. I'm going to make it 4 inches exactly, and you'll see why in a minute. So that's going to be 4 inches exactly. So next I'm going to bring on a square. So I need to go right to the top for the basic square. And again, I'm going to make it exactly 4 inches in height, but this time I'm going to make it 2 inches. So I'm going to now uncheck the aspect ratio and make it 2. And then I'm going to line the 2 up to the left. I'm going to select this shape and the rectangle, and we're going to line them up to the left and also to the top. So we're clicking on, and we're going to go 90 degrees, and if it goes upside down we'll flip it. That seemed the easiest way. I remember doing that now. So what we're going to do next is shrink it in this way until we're happy with the shape, and I think that's not too bad. Then I'm going to select this rectangle, and again we're going to rotate it by 90 degrees so that we have the long one on top. I'm going to shrink it down. I'm going to bring it in over my plant pot. I'm going to check the size, a little bit narrower and definitely not quite so wide. And we need it to be overhanging a little bit, just to give that impression that the plant pot has a lip, like they do. And then we need there to be a gap in between, because remember, this is creating a stencil pot rather than one that's welded together. So I'm just going to line them up on the vertical axes, and I think I'm okay with that. I'm going to select both and group them, and I'm also going to turn them into a nice terracotta flavour, a nice terracotta colour, like so. Now I'm going to just close the properties box, and we're going to have a look at where we're up to. So I'm going to introduce that to my poinsettia plant, have a look at it. I think it could do to be just a little bit bigger, like so. I'm going to select both the poinsettia and the pot and line up on the vertical axes, like so. So I'm just going to group those two together for now, and I'm also going to make a duplicate which I'm going to move off to the side. Next we're going to look for the bow that is on the plant pot. So again, I went into the Free Silhouette Studio and I typed in bow, and it gave me a selection of bows, ribbons, etc. And it was this present bow that I thought was quite attractive, and I decided to use that. So I've already got that downloaded and saved. To save it, you just right click and save link as, or just do it how you do it on a Mac. So I've already got that saved on my computer, so I'm again going to trace, choose the file, and this time I'm going to need the present. I'm going to say, but just before we do that, I'm going to just cancel it because I'm going to need some space on my mat. So I'm just going to move this off to the side so that I've got plenty of area on my mat to work with. So I'm just going to go through that again, choose the file, and I'm going to select the present. I called it present. And I'm going to do start an outline, try a preview, and I'm looking really to trace that nice bow shape on top of the present. And that looks like it's done a really good trace, and I'm going to say, okay, do I want the image? No, I don't, I just want the bow. So I'm going to bring that on. And straight away I'm going to move these out of the way. I don't really know what they are, but we're going to delete them anyway, and we're going to delete that. The next thing I'm going to do is select all the swirly parts of the bow and group them. Then I'm going to shrink them down and also make them a little bit narrower, because I'm looking for them to fit on my plant pot. So again, I'm just adjusting the size like so, and that's looking like it's going to fit. I'm just going to make it just ever so slightly bigger, and I think I'm reasonably happy with that. So again, I'm going to duplicate it so I've got a copy of it, and I'm going to now place this one. I'm going to ungroup this file, because it's just this plant pot underneath that I want. So I'm positioning this here. Then I'm going to select the plant pot, and I'm going to do edit, process the overlap and subtract. And again, that's going to, hang on, we've got, if it must be still selected with the top part. So I'm just going to ungroup that, because it is just the bottom part of the plant pot that we want, and we need the bow to be on top. That's correct. And then we do process the overlap and we do subtract, like so. Now I can group everything back together, group. And now we've got a copy of our file, we've got a copy of our bow. So these are grouped together, good to go. So I'm just going to keep those grouped together, and we're going to start now on the main card itself. So I think I can delete this one now. I'm fairly confident where we're going with this. And I'm going to bring on a square, and I'm going to change the dimensions to 8 inches. I'm going to keep the maintain aspect ratio ticked, and 8 inches by 8 inches, and say OK. And just so we can see what we're doing, I'm going to do another square. This time I'm going to resize it to, and I need to uncheck this time, 8 inches by 4, like so, and I'm going to say OK. So what we've got now is a small rectangle that's exactly half size on top of that one, and we're using that so we know how much space we've got to play with here. Okay, so we're going to bring everything in, and including the bow. Just going to stick it somewhere in the middle for now, and we're going to just select those and move them out of the way for a minute, and we're going to select everything at the bottom there that all needs to be resized to the same proportions, group them and resize them. And I resized it, and I think I took it in a little bit on the width as well, and we're going to just try roughly if that's fitting, and I think that's okay. I'm going to actually make it a bit wider again, double check the size. I'm going to make it a little bit smaller, double check. So I think we're more or less good to go there. So I'm going to try ungrouping it now, because that isn't quite lined up on top. So I'm just going to use one of them now to see where we're up to. And I think, looking at that, we could just do to be, a smidge smaller. So again, I'm just going to bring everything together, group them, and we're going to resize it. Then we're going to ungroup. I've just redone it, redo. We're going to ungroup. I've got to have it selected to ungroup it. Come on, Beverly, get your act together. So then we've got our pot here with the cutout, and that's fitting nicely. Now I'm going to take a duplicate of that so that we've got a good working copy of this file, and I'm going to delete that one. So now we've got a separate bow if we need it, and there's that. So now I'm going to just move these off to the side. I'm going to move these two into the middle so I can see what we're working with, and we can see the dimensions of the card are here. We've still got the small one here, we've still got the bigger one here, and we're using that line just to give us an idea of where centre is to that line. So I'm just manoeuvring my plant pot, as it were, my poinsettia plant pot, and I'm going to make sure that this one is on top, and it is, and then click the one underneath, the big one, and we're going to edit, process the overlap and subtract, and that will punch out excuse me, the holes where this file will fit in, if you will. So it's not going to be just big holes, it is going to be actually be able to be pieced back together. And if we zoom in, you can see what I mean. We'll be able to piece the things back together. So we're going to undo. I'm sorry, we're going to redo that. I didn't want to do that. We're going to view fit to matte, like so. And then I'm going to give this a colour, and I think I'll make it black so it stands out nice and brightly. So now we can see that one. We need to check, we've got a smaller rectangle to the left, but so we need to send that one to the back, the black one. And now when we click here, we should end up with seeing if we make that top one white, you can see the small one is on top now, like so. So I'm going to double click to expose the nodes. Click on this part here till this one is highlighted. And when you click on this, this automatically pops up for you, and you need to do minus the node. So then we're going to click on this node here, and again minus the node. So what we've actually got now is that bit selected in the middle, and I'm going to hit on the glass. That will select that line at the centre, and we're just going to make that a cutting line and also a perforating line, like so. Bella, shh. I'm going to close that down, and I'm going to click on the selection tool, and I'm going to select that and the line, and you should just, oops. I'm going to select that and the line, and you should just about be able to see it's blue there. I'm going to just change that colour so you can see what we're doing. Make it a grey colour, then it's easier for you to see that centre line. So I'm going to select both, including that centre line. So I need that centre line to be highlighted like it is now. Then we're going to group it. And that means now we can move this around without, and view fit to matte, without it moving that score line. So that score line is left in there now. So what the intention is now is you will then cut these pieces out as well and piece them back in to your main design. So you've got license to pick your own colours if you want to do something a little bit different. Something gone wrong there. So there we have that's going in there. And obviously this bow here won't be there, it'll just be able to peel it off, and you'll just have this with the hole. So it's already got that in, so ignoring the fact that that's there, I'll try and get rid of it if I can, just to, so you know where we're going. Just try to manoeuvre that one out of the way, because it is throwing you off a bit, because I just want there to be a plant pot there. Like so. So I'm just going to zoom it right in, and if this happens to you, just leave it, because that's going to cut out. But just for the sake of the video, so that people can see what's happening, I'm double clicking it, I'm selecting as many as the nodes that are in the centre, and I'm just dragging a box round them, hitting minus, because that's all we're doing, selecting them. When they turn to turquoise, they're selected, and we delete them. We just keep going until we've got them all. Once we've got them all, they will disappear. So we just keep going, dragging, selecting, until we get rid of that shape in the middle. Like I say, when you come to cut that out, you just peel that off your design, and then this one would fit in, that bit there. And this bit then, let's make that a colour one. I had it blue on my last file, didn't I? So I'll do it blue again, just so that for consistency. That will fit back in the pot. Whoops. So I'm going to undo that and bring the bow out again. So there we have that with the first bit of the pot in. So again, move it into position. I mean, obviously you're going to be sticking these in position, so they're going to be perfect. I'm just doing this for the sake of the video so you can see what you're aiming for. So it might not just be fitting perfectly, but because they've been cut from the same file, they will actually fit. So we need that one bringing to the top, very top, order to the top, and then that will fit in your bow in your plant pot as well. So that's the basics of the file, and I think that's a little bit too dark now, so I'm just going to make it a lighter colour so that we can see the file in all its glory. So make it a nice pale buff colour or whatever. Would look nice in white, might look nice in black, but whatever. So then what I did was, we want to do a greeting, so I used this shape here, this sort of rounded out, just the edge rounded out rectangle, and I shrank it down both in width and height till it fit nicely in the centre here. And then I created an offset, so edit, create an offset here, and I took it down to 0.12, 0.12 and said OK. So now we've got one there and one here. So the one behind I'm going to make one colour, so we'll make that, I think I did it red, just so it ties in with the other one. And we're going to send that back one, not all the way, did undo, just send it back one layer, because we want that one on top. And I made that one white, so it was going to be a nice file to actually write on. So we're nearly there now, so I selected everything, and I'm just going to group everything temporarily so I can move it out the way while I bring on my greeting and give myself space. And again, for my greeting, I went in the type converter, Brothers type converter. So I opened it, I typed in Merry Christmas, okay, and I chose something Christmas, I can't remember now which one it was. It was a free, just bear with while we look. There it is, Christmas time personal use, so it's a nice swirly font. Let's have a look at it so you can see how it's going to look. It looks quite nice for Christmas, it's quite a traditional font. So I used that one and downloaded it. So I got this one, Christmas time for personal use, from the font website, and if you want to look how to do that, I have a video that shows you how to do that. So then I saved it, and you would do the same, and then we'd open it in Canvas. I'm not going to save it again because I've already got it saved. So going back to it, this time we're importing an SVG. So I'm going to click choose file, and it's the Merry Christmas that we're looking for. So I'll click on my drive FCMs, there's my Merry Christmas SVCM, and say OK. So now we've brought it on, I'm going to select everything, turn it black so we can see what we're dealing with, and we're going to sort it out now. So I'm going to zoom right in onto, just so you can see the greeting, so you can see really clearly what's happening. Now at the moment, if I click on the selection tool, you can see that it's not joined together. When I move it apart, it's actually broken apart. Obviously this M's not going to weld to the E because they're not touching, but we can make the rest of the word weld if you want. Although I'm not intending to cut it, it's not an issue, but you would need to still do this part if you're going to weld it, or if you're going to draw it so that it doesn't draw this shaded in too. So what we need to do is select the letters where you've got a problem, so we're looking at the E, the Y and so on. Go edit and subtract. So edit, process the overlap and subtract. So we're doing this for each of the problematic letters, and this is because it's not a font anymore, it's actually an FCM file, so it's reading it differently, your computer deals with it differently. And again, process the overlap and subtract. And we're getting there now. Edit, process the overlap and subtract, and finally edit, process the overlap and subtract. So I'm just going to zoom out a little bit so we can see the whole of the two words. So I'm just going to group this one together first of all. So I'm grouping the mirror and I'm going to hit weld. Now, like I said, the M's not going to be welded, but when we now try to move these are welded. So I'm just going to undo that. So we've still got this one to do, so I'm going to select the Christmas, I'm going to group it first of all, and then I'm going to edit and weld. And again, this is going to weld the Christmas, obviously not the dot for the I because it's not going to do that, and it's also not going to do the C because we're not grouped touching. So I'm just going to drag my box around all of those 2 words, and I'm going to group the whole thing now, because I'm going to want to be able to resize it right down to fit our card. So I'm just going to come across now, and I'm going to view fit to mat so we can see where we are. So I need to select the mat, bring it on our card. I'm going to edit and ungroup everything now, and then I'm going to resize this so it fits in that white part. So I'm just going to resize it, bring it down, see that it fits like so. So then I'm going to select that and the font if I can. I'm just going to drag that off and drag this off, and I'm just going to select both the font and the white layer, and I'm going to centre them vertical and centre them in the horizontal. So that greeting is now in the middle of that white piece, and I'm going to group that. Now, actually I'm going to ungroup it for a second because I do need to make that a drawing line and a fill. So in properties, edit the properties. If I bring up the property box, I need to make it a drawing line, and I also want it to fill. So that means it'll draw it and fill the writing in. Bella! I'm going to select both and group them. Good girl. And then I can position that back into where it's going to be, which is here. So that's our card completed, the first day of Christmas, if you will. My true love sent to me. I guess it's a poinsettia in a plant pot. But there you go. I hope you've enjoyed it. This is a take on the stencil. Remember, you could use that to make a stencil as well. I did like the technique I showed you in the previous video. Okay, so now I'm just going to position it back into the centre of my card so you'll see where it's going to be. My husband's just come in now. He's calming the dog down. He gets excited when he comes home from work. So that's our card finished. I hope you've liked it. If you have, please like, share and subscribe, and keep joining me over on my blog, Beverly 10 Blogspots, where you can download the files that I make on YouTube for free. Also, don't forget to join me for the rest of the days of Christmas, and the second day will be coming up soon. Thanks for watching. Bye.